Hello everyone, so today I'm going to start a series on Glass Mapper. The purpose of today's session is just to show how to take a Helix based solution, which I have here open on my desktop right now. Take this solution, I'm going to install Sitecore using NuGet, and then I'm also going to then install Glass Mapper 5, which is the latest version that's out by Mike Edwards. To start this, I'm going to explain the solution structure I have in place at this moment. I haven't gone too far into this. I basically have a foundation layer, I have my project layer, and I have my feature layer. Those are all common to Helix, Psycore Helix. If you're not familiar with it, I'll leave a link down in the description below on references for how to develop with Helix. But like I said, I have a basic architecture here, just kind of basic things. I haven't really gone too far into setting up the configuration. I would have used my Helix starter kit for this, except for the fact I'm demonstrating how to install Glass. So I might end up switching it to use the starter kit after I'm done with this video on the introduction to it. But anyways, what you'll see here is that we have a foundation layer. Typically, I will always place the ORM in the foundation, since that is going to be fundamental to all things in your solution architecture. So you're probably going to have foundation modules that depend on the ORM, as well as you're going to have features that depend on the ORM. To get started, we're going to go ahead and do the Sitecore installation first. I need to add it to the ORM, as well as I actually have a project down here, a module that represents the website. Right now I don't have any of this stuff publishing or anything like that. I'm just going to simply install Glass, and that is all. In the next session, I'm going to cover more about how to start developing with Glass and doing some cool things with Glass. All right, so let's get started. First things first, I'm going to go to a project and I'm going to start installing Psycore. We're going to be using this instance I'm running is glass.training.sc, which is the domain and or host for this. So to do that, all we need to do is go to Manage NuGet Packages. Because we're installing Psycore, we are going to use the psycore reference I have here. If you don't have this defined, I'm going to at some point do a video on how to install NuGet or Psycore from NuGet, and you can basically define this. You just go on the settings here and you would define a new package source, which is Sitecores. So once you have that defined, you're set to go. There's a way actually to create a NuGet.config file that is existing inside your solution so that other developers could actually access it as well, because this is my environment specific, this package source that I've configured. So I have Psycore selected. What I'm going to do is I want to install psycore.kernel, and I'm going to select actually I'm under installed, so let's go to browse. And now you see two options here. What we want is the no references. So the kernel would come with a bunch of dependencies on other things related to Psycore. It's also things related to, as you can see, there's HTML Agility Pack, Psycore Zip, Lucene.net, etc., etc. Typically, you would not want to install or use the psycore.kernel. You'd want to use no references, because really all you want in your project is stuff that you're directly referencing for something that you're developing. And typically for a Glass site, that's just going to be the kernel, and it's going to be the psycore.mvc, which I'll show how to install that in a second. So I'm going to select the no references, and it's basically saying missing assembly dependency. So it's just the DLL that we need, just the kernel. We're going to be installing 9.0.180.604, which represents basically that's the version for 9.0.2. And once I select it, then I'm going to click on install. So now it's installing the Psycore kernel, no references of 9.0.2. It is done. So in our project, let's go ahead and add Psycore kernel or Psycore MVC. I don't know if we're necessarily going to need this, but if we're creating layouts and things like that, we might need that as well. So I don't want just the Psycore MVC. What I actually want is the no references one. So Psycore MVC, no references, 9.0.180.604, which is 9.0.2. Click install. And this is the order that you should do things. You should never install Glass first. You should install your Sitecore versions first, and then go ahead and install Glass. They've changed the way they handling Glass Mapper 5. It's a little different. There's actually version specific NuGet packages that you would download for Glass, whereas in the past in Glass 4 version 4, they actually had a PowerShell script that would detect what version of Sitecore that you're running inside that project, and then it would include the correct DLL that you would need to run with that version. So I don't know if it necessarily needs to absolutely be in this order as it used to be, because now what we're going to be doing here in a second is actually selecting the version from NuGet that we need to install it for. So for Sitecore 9, or 9.0.2, we'd be installing the 9 version of Glass, whereas if you were doing it for 8.2, we'd be installing the 8.2 version, etc. So basically, they've separated the NuGet packages into a lot of different NuGet packages for all the different versions of Sitecore that you might have. So we've installed it for that. You can see now there's psycore MVC and psycore kernel. I'm going to go ahead and actually install those same references in here as well. You could do command line of installing these packages, but I'm just going to show how to do this with this. So I'm just going to do, just to make sure we have the right one selected, I'm going to say manage NuGet packages for that specific project. And then here again, I'm going to go to psycore kernel. Now I think it's not going to show anything because I don't have that package source selected. So I'll switch it to Sitecore, and then I'll select no references, again using 9.0.2 version, click install, and then it gets installed. And last but not least, I will install MVC, no references, install 9.0.2. Another thing that we're going to need to make sure we have in here is to just make sure that we're running MVC. This is an MVC project, so I didn't really show this because I already had them set up. But make sure that when you create these projects for your solution, you should always create them as MVC projects, and then you can just strip out the things you don't need. There might be some scenarios where you don't want it to be necessary have all these references to MVC, .NET MVC, but I find that most projects I'm creating or most modules inside Helix is always going to be a MVC, .NET MVC 5.2.3 project. So I've got those both installed. So now the magic can really happen. I can go ahead and install Glass. So I want to switch back from Sitecore into NuGet.org. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to glass.mapper.sc .90. So the 90 at the end is new in Glass 5, like I was just explaining. If you were running 8.2 or version 8.2, then you just type in 82, and then that would be the version for that version of Sitecore. If you're running 8.1, obviously type in 8.1, and then you'd have that version of Sitecore. I don't know how far that goes back. It might go back to maybe 7.2. Nope, not back to that far. Maybe 8.0. Yeah, so it goes back to version 8 of Sitecore. So 8, 8.1, 8.2, and then of course 9, which is what this instance is on. So if we select that version, and keep in mind that doesn't denote the iterations or the bug fixes. So 9.0.2 would always show up under 90, 8.2.6 would show up under 82, etc., etc. So just keep that in mind. So now we have 4 projects here, or 4 NuGet packages. So we're going to go ahead and just select to install glassmapper.sc.90. So let's just go ahead and do that. Click install. And what this is going to do is first it's going to show us a README file. This is where you can read up on documentation for Glass Mapper 5 and previous versions. There's also now a training course that's provided by Mike Edwards to provide training for Glass Mapper 5. None of that's necessarily needed for this course, so I'm just going to close that. And some other things that it's done is now created a app start. It's got some of the dependencies for configuring Glass Mapper, which I'll show in later courses, some common customizations that you might want to make with Glass Mapper. There's the app config. This is where you're going to have your Glass Mapper specific patch configs for Sitecore. So that's what you're going to see there. And that's pretty much the basics of what's here. Now, now that we have that defined, there's still one more step that we need to do. We need to actually add Glass to our Helix project website module. So to do that, all we need to do is actually go back, do right click on it, click Manage NuGet Packages, and I am going to switch to all, and I am going to type in glass.mapper.sc.90, which is the version that we're using. And we don't necessarily need to go and select this option again, because what the 9.0, the base install one does, the NuGet package does, is it will install the app configs, the configuration, and things like that. We don't need any of that. We just need an MVC version of the core so that we can do development in our module that represents our website in our project layer. So all we actually need to do is just select the SC90 MVC, click install, and there we go. We get another documentation saying, or README file saying what. But now if we look inside the website, we'll see that we have glass.mapper, glass.mapper.sc, and mapper.sc.mvc, because we're going to potentially be doing things with the MVC version of it because we have an MVC solution. So that's pretty much it. We've successfully installed Glass Mapper 5.0.6, and we've successfully installed psycore 9.0.2. Now, obviously, we haven't built anything. We haven't published anything out to our website, but that will come in the next session where we're going to actually, a lot of this will actually be configured because that's not the purpose of this training. We're actually going to start building some views and doing some various things with Glass. So good luck with Glass.